承載唔到你亂嚟，搞事，命都冇。
I am the most complete fighter in the world.
If you got aim,
you can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
Stick around. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Dodge this.
Well, come back to Dodge This Season 3 episode ? Don't know what order they're going out in. My name is Simon Fielder, and as usual, I am here to chat with a good friend about some action movies. And you know what? I'm going to call him a friend of the show. I think 3 appearances technically qualifies as friend of the show. Returning guest, Mr. Chris Gow is here. Hello, Christopher.
Hello. So in the rankings, like if you have 1 appearance, what are you, like, colleague of the show? How does it work?
Yeah, 1 appearance could be speed date, Tinder, colleague.
Right. Yeah.
You just don't know, do you? You've got to test the waters, and it could be like, yeah, you seem nice, but I don't want to kiss you. If it's a colleague.
Second appearance on the show is a kiss. Is that right?
Second appearance is, I feel like there could be something. Yeah, okay. This is worth pursuing.
And then third is friend.
Third appearance is generally it's full sex. Generally full sex of the show.
But you call me a friend of the show, so it's full sex friend of the show.
Full sex friend. It's very European. It's a European podcast.
I cannot wait for next episode when I appear.
Yeah, it's I mean, it feels like not even that long ago, but here's what's happened, listener. The movie that we're talking about, Twilight of the Warriors, Walled In, is an epic action movie out of Hong Kong. And Chris, you're going to be quite excited about this. Don't know if you remember this, but at the end of your last appearance, first appearance, we talked about Equalizer 3. Both enjoyed it a great deal. Second appearance, I thought this is going to be great. Statham, Beekeeper. I think it's fair to say we were both quite disappointed by that film, and that's maybe me being generous.
That could be a classic bad movie in 5 years' time. At present, it's just a terrible movie.
Maybe when you're wife of the show, we'll revisit it.
Yeah.
On our silver anniversary. Anyway, at the end of the Beekeeper episode, you uttered the following words.
Give me your best, like, mad Hong Kong thing that you think I won't have seen. That's what I'm into.
And the gods of cinema conspired to bring Twilight of the Warriors out in UK. By the time you listen to this, it probably isn't on at the cinema anymore. It had a bloody cinema release in the UK. I wish I could have seen it on the big screen. But anyway, it's here. It's a big movie, and it is literally from Hong Kong. One of my sort of other notes was we've only had 1 Hong Kong movie on the pod so far because their movie industry just isn't what it once was. I say that with tears in my eyes and a frothy latte in my throat. But no spoilers, but Hong Kong's back, baby! We'll get to it.
Hong Kong is so back that this is the second biggest domestic grossing movie in Hong Kong history. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I looked up, I was curious to know what the budget of this movie was because I was like, this seems very expensive.
Yeah.
And I think it is expensive for Hong Kong terms, I'd imagine. But it's like around $30 million to make. Mm-hmm. And it's already grossed £70 million. So it must have done incredibly well. There's a lot of mixed... pounds. For some reason...
They still accept pounds in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Incroyable.
Yeah. So I think it must have done incredibly well.
All right, let's put a pin in that and circle back around to it because I can't wait to talk to you about this movie. But before we do, and this is also, I think, why you're already friend of the show, increasingly one of my favorite people to speak to in life about films, but also, in a performative way about films, because usually I say, what have people seen? And it's things that are, in their movie ether of the recent months, but your letterbox continues to bring me such joy on a daily basis. I just have no idea what's going to be next. And I would say 95% of the movies I've never heard of. It's absolutely mind blowing.
It is a sickness.
But have you seen Bad Boys 4?
I haven't seen Bad Boys 4, but in that vein, I did watch Ambulance. I thought, have you seen Ambulance?
Yeah, I have.
What did you think of Ambulance?
I think I need to revisit it because I think with the benefit of hindsight, now I know, and I think maybe this will apply a little bit to Twilight of the Warriors. Like going into Ambulance, I was like, I love Michael Bay. It's going to be great. And it was so mental that I just couldn't quite get on board with it. It was too, it sounds so stupid to say, but for a Michael Bay movie, but it was like too cartoonish and ridiculous for me.
It was like for want of a better word, like a furious, angry wank of a movie. Like it was just like there was no pacing.
So much shouting.
Yeah, there was no pace. The only pace was like, just like it was so bewildering, the amount of like edits and cuts and like shots per second. It was like,
yeah,
it was bewildering. And I wish, because some of the set pieces I thought were actually like really cool, but like you just couldn't get on board with them because they had no meaning, because it was just at that like frenzied pace. Like it didn't give anything time to breathe at all. Yeah,
it is fully like foot on the pedal and it never comes off. I think that's something that you sort of, like we talk about a lot with action movies, where you kind of need a little bit of breathing space after the mad shit to be like, whoa, okay, that was pretty cool. And then we like trundle along for a little bit, plot, character, like stakes. And then, whereas that movie just, and you're right, there's some really cool shit in it. And he is one of the first people to kind of lean into the FPV drone shots. And there is some like incredible cinematography.
There were some mad ones. Yeah. Mad.
And I don't know, it just something about it. And I think it's just it was just so much screaming and insanity.
Like you say, it's like you do need tension and release, and like if it's all tension, and without any release, it's just it just snaps. I think. Like,
are you talking about a mad wank again?
Yeah, sorry. Are we still talking about Ambulance? So sorry. I got confused. I shouldn't. Right, but it's just like, please give us like you say in that. When you release it and then you build characters, you care about them more, and then the jeopardy increases because you like the characters. But with that, it was just nonstop.
I think it's dumb, but in the best way, right? I think if you just kind of give yourself over to this is dumb, then I think you'll have a great time with it. But I think I couldn't flick the switch once the movie had gone.
I agree.
I think on a revisit, maybe if I go in with, knowing that the barometer is set there, maybe I'll enjoy it more.
Yeah, and I think in the cinema it might have been fun. But the other movie I've seen, which I hope you've seen because it's a Hong Kong movie from back in the day, is Ricky-O, The Story of Ricky.
Yes, I have seen that. Classic.
That is one of the most entertaining movies I have ever seen in my life. That is full gonzo mental. For your listeners, if you haven't seen Ricky-O, The Story of Ricky, it's about a man in a high-tech future prison fighting his way out. But that just sounds like a Dolph Lundgren straight-to-video from the 90s. True. This is some of the most violent, weird, bonkers stuff I've ever seen in a movie. And it's like a comic or cartoon. It was amazing.
Well, I think the words that you're looking for are based on a manga.
Was it based on a manga?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Because
absolutely
that, again,
great.
Not to talk too much about Twilight of the Warriors, but again, like on second viewing, knowing, maybe you didn't know on first viewing, this was also based on a manga. It just sort of is like, I'm ready for that. If someone said Ambulance was like based on a cartoon series, I would be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, sure. Let's that all of that can. I'll let it. I know what level to approach it from.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But like Ricky-O, Ricky-O is like so on the nose based on a manga, like visceral, insane, over the top madness.
5-star classic for me. Definitely
Love
seek
that.
that out. The other action movies, just some classic ones I revisited.
Don't have to be action, remember, Chris. We're open to anything.
No, we're
here.
going to do action because otherwise we'll get really into the weeds. Another classic that I'd forgotten about. I'm a big Shane Black fan personally.
Same.
I know some people don't like him, but I love him. And I rewatched The Long Kiss Goodnight, and it stood up.
Do you know what? I put that on my bloody watch list this week because I saw him in a documentary.
Yeah, who did you see?
Shane Black. Yeah.
What was the documentary?
You'll like it, actually. It's called In Search of the Last Action Heroes. It's about 80s action movies.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Love that.
I mean, if you're a man of a certain age, which I'm no spoilers and no shade.
I feel like that's a
are.
PSA for your listeners, that
Whew,
public service announcement. Surely.
If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, 100% search out In Search of the Last Action Heroes. It's streaming on a lot of the ad-supported services like Tubi and Freevee and Plex and all that sort of stuff. Really fun and loads of great interviews, including Shane Black.
Long Kiss Goodnight really stood up, and like Samuel L. Jackson's character is such a fun character. It's like so fun. It's really great. I really enjoyed it a lot. Worth a revisit, I thought.
Pretty much everything he's touched, I think, is great. I haven't watched his The Predator.
I seem to be the only person in existence who had a great time with it.
Oh, okay.
Everyone
good.
hates it. But it's really Shane Blacky and like really funny. So I thought it was great. But like most people I know absolutely hated it.
I'm interested to see it based on that. But I mean, yeah, the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and like the Nice Guys are just like chef's kiss, which also makes me think of The Fall Guy, which I saw recently, where Gosling is very much channeling that sort of roguish, likable cheekiness that I think he's so good at.
I think he's one of the best comedy actors out there, genuinely. Like him in The Nice Guys is like the perfect comic.
He's so good in that movie.
I think.
So good.
I'll see The Nice Guys then. I mean, The Fall Guy. That sounds great. I mean,
don't go in expecting a Shane Black movie. It's very much a summer movie at the movies, but good chemistry. Gosling is good. Some really fun stunts, a sort of nod to the physical and I want to say the old way of doing it. I think that's what they set out to, that's what David Leitch, the director, certainly set out to do, I think, was like tip his hat to like all the classic car stunts, boats, fire, fighting, high falls. There's all that. And it's all like real people doing it. It's very enjoyable. And also there is a TV show, which is sort of a promo for The Fall Guy wrapped up in a TV show, I guess, if you want to be harsh about it, which is just called Action. It's like a 6-part show on, it went out on Peacock. I don't know. You'll have to dig it out. But it's just about 87 North, the David Leitch's action design company, and it sort of focuses on them making the movie Violent Night, and then they're making The Fall Guy, and it's like all the behind the scenes stuff of like them designing the action, shooting the action, all the stunts and stuff. I mean, again, for fans of this podcast, it is an absolute no-brainer.
I was very intrigued by like some of the stunt work in the movie we're going to discuss now, because like some of it is definitely in the moment incredible stuff. Some of it's like wire work, but some of it was CGI.
Yeah.
And I was trying to work out how an action choreographer or stunt coordinator, like, how do they work out how to do this stuff? And presumably that doc tells you a bit of that.
Yeah, to some degree. It goes, I mean, it is like, if you're nerdy about it, which I obviously am, and I imagine if you're listening to this podcast, perhaps you definitely, the barometer is leaning in that direction. But yeah, it follows like, what's his name? Eusebio, the fight action choreographer, as sort of like the head honcho on Violent Night, piecing all this stuff together and kind of making it like his journey to wanting to be a director next, being the sort of like second unit director. And there's so much like behind the scenes stuff. And And also, God, it's so connected, Chris. It's all connected. One of the other movies that I finally watched recently is a German independent action movie called Plan B. Scheiß auf Plan A. Plan B shit.
What was the name of the movie again?
Plan B. Scheiß auf Plan A. I don't know why half of it is in English and the second bit is in German.
What's the second part in German? What does that mean?
Shit on Plan A.
That's great.
So it's an amazing showcase indie action movie. These three martial arts stunt men from Germany. It's just one of those like labor of love passion project. Amazing. They're just like putting everything they can do in it. It's great. And it's from a few years back. And the second I finished watching it, I was like, what are they doing now? Why aren't they? It turns out they've been working for 87 North. They're like part of the action design team on Violent Night. It's all great news.
That's great. Because there's this whole world of stunt coordinating in there, like the guy who directs John Wick and stuff. Like, it's fascinating. I'd love to know more about it.
Yes, he is notable by his absence in this documentary, which I have follow-up questions, because David Leitch, who directed The Fall Guy and is part 87 North, and then they did John Wick together and then they kind of parted ways. David Leitch did, Bullet Train, Atomic Blonde, The Fall Guy. Stahelski did all of the John Wick sequels. He's 8711, Leitch is 87 North. And Stahelski is not in the documentary action.
Interesting.
Whereas Keanu Reeves is.
Interesting.
So I don't know if they're friends, if it's all amicable, or I don't know what's going on there.
But they both called their companies 87 something.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well, it makes me sort of hope that they are still pals, and Leitch is just like, I kind of want to go more in this direction. So
yeah,
we'll keep the 87, but it'll be like my building, and then you do your shit over there. I don't know. Don't know anyone in Hollywood who can spill the tea.
I'll find out. I'll phone up. I'll phone up Mr. MGM, good friend of mine.
Good, yeah. Martin Goldwyn Martin.
Yeah, MGM. Yeah, that's how I abbreviate his name. Yeah, Martin Goldwyn Martin.
Love him.
I guess. I mean, it's said. I bet you've said it on this podcast before, but it's just real stunts. I mean, this is so obvious to say to your listeners, but like real stunts as opposed to CGI stunts are just so much more exciting. And I watched this video about it, and it was explaining like with CGI. Like, let's say in one of the Fast and the Furious movies, I don't know if I got the plural right there.
Fast and the Fury Eye.
Fury Eye. Like, someone will jump out the back of a car onto another moving car. And you do that in CGI.
Yeah.
But you, as the viewer, subliminally know that you can't do that because of how physics works. Okay. Like, because by the time you jump, the car's already moved. I don't know the intricacies of it.
Physics.
Physics. And the human mind kind of clocks that. And it's like, oh, and they'll forgive it a little bit. But over an entire movie where physics keeps on being broken, eventually you just don't believe it. And then the danger, the threat, what the thrill of watching a stunt is frankly, will this person die? And like, right. Obviously you want your stuntmen and stunt people to survive, to not die. But that is the thrill, like that is why it's so exciting. And that's why you watch Buster Keaton and the wall of a house fall down around him, and it's real and it's exciting, like, so it's that fine line where you don't want to endanger people, but you want it super exciting. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And it's the skill and the training and the precision and the health and safety and the planning that makes you think, oh my God, how did they do that? Right. And you're like, it's definitely a real person. And you're right. Yeah. Like Fast and the Furious, I think sort of jumped the submarine, electronic laser shark after 5. I think we can all agree.
One of my favorite cinema moments is, I was in the cinema watching, I can't remember which one it was, but it's when Ludacris goes into space in a car.
Oh, yeah. 7 or 8? I think 8.
Yeah, I started laughing because it was just, this is beyond ludicrous.
Yeah.
And a woman like really far down at the front row also started giggling. And then we just started like having a giggle off. And like it slowly rippled through the entire cinema just off the two of us just crying with laughter at this moment.
Right.
It was a really satisfying moment.
I mean, I think it sort of like puts me in mind of the Michael Bay ambulance conversation in that Fast and the Furious sort of went from like exciting action movie. I still think it peaked at 5 when The Rock arrived and it still felt a bit physical and real, to sort of, oh, it's gone a bit silly, to them in space where you're a bit like, well, it's gone so fast round the stupidometer that you're like, there's nothing to be critical of at this point, right? It like all bets are off. Like it's sort of making fun of a fast movie up post that is just sort of like, well, what, they went into space and that was 2 movies ago. What were you expecting?
It's just so soap opera now. It's just like you're following the soap opera, and like, you know, there's a place for that. I'm sure we'll talk about that with this movie that we're going to talk about, but like, it's just, there's not enough character in those movies to give a shit about the soap opera element. So I don't know. It was, the last one was just bad, I thought, unfortunately.
I still haven't seen Fast X. That tells you
bad.
Everything, I think. Yeah. I caught up to 9 and was like, do you know what? It just doesn't make me feel anything.
No, that's exactly right.
Sad. I have seen some movies that aren't action movies. I was just looking at my letterbox to check. Sometimes I get a little bit trapped in the sort of action movie wheel where I don't have time to be like watch movies every day. So and then I want to make this podcast. But finally I watched Lady Bird.
Lovely movie.
The Greta Gerwig movie from a few years ago. Yeah, lovely. Just
stunt work in that. The stunt work, amazing.
Really great stunt work. Yeah, how they got those actual ladybirds to like do those twists and dives and stuff. But yeah, it was very much a movie that put me in mind of all the movies I loved when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Like your sort of Baumbachs, your Linklaters, your Before Sunset, Sunrise, you know.
I looked at the type of, I've watched a lot of movies, and on Letterboxd you can see the stats of the type of movies you like.
Oh boy.
And mine are crime, noir, and coming of age movies. So like coming of age movies, I'm just such a sucker for, especially if they're like as funny as Lady Bird. Yeah. And they're like really truthful and a bit, not mean spirited, but like a little, not too sentimental.
Spiky.
I thought it was great.
A little spiky.
Spiky.
Yeah.
Really,
you're right. Coming of age movie. That's
fan.
what it is, isn't it? That's exactly what it is. And that is why one of my favourite movies remains Noah Baumbach's Kicking and Screaming.
I've never seen that. I'll put that on my list.
Yeah. Dig it out. I don't know where you could. I used to have it on a Criterion DVD.
You nerd.
I think it's hard to know if watching it double years later, it still would sort of have the same. But it's just about like a group of people who've just graduated college and are trying to work out what to do with their lives. It's, it's peak coming of age sort of vibes.
I think if it gets your hooks into you, then it will still have its hooks in you.
I hope so.
That's the peak time. Like,
dig that one out, mate. Yeah. I think you would really like it.
I will. I'm a fan of his.
Now, I feel like that's a lovely sort of bed of movie nerddom to vault from into our feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
Dodge this.
Yes, we did it. You asked for it. You being Chris Gow, you literally asked for it. And it was delivered. Literally, a few weeks later, a little thing popped in my inbox that had the press release and a screener for Twilight of the Warriors, Walled In. You know what it also had, which I was so sad about? He had an invite to a screening in a cinema in Soho to watch the press screening of it. And oh boy, I wish I could have. I mean, I was several thousand miles away, sadly. But my one takeaway was, boy, I would have liked to have seen this in the cinema.
It has a general release. I just noticed it's playing in, not a huge release, but it's playing in quite a few cinemas at the moment. And I was really surprised by that. I was like really heartened by that, actually.
Yeah. I mean, let's take it back to the beginning. We have got a pretty decent budget. Chris did the research, thankfully. We've got a lot of sort of Hong Kong heavy hitters. We've got Louis Koo. We've got Sammo Hung in.
I know, Sammo Hung.
In a sort of
how old is
bad
Sammo
guy
Hung now?
act. He's in his 70s.
I was so happy to see Sammo Hung.
Over the moon.
That was great.
And to see him get to
fight.
Do some fighting. We'll get into how much of
with
it he
his
actually
body
did.
double.
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's begin at the beginning. Chris, do you want to do the little précis, the old slightly annoying sum up?
Yeah. You'll have to remind me of the title because the title is absolutely terrible.
It's
and
quite long,
completely
isn't it?
ludicrous. And I want to talk about that title, but it's called Twilight of the Warriors, Walled In.
Correct. Nailed
Correct. And it's about a undocumented migrant from the mainland China arrives in Hong Kong without a passport or a past. And while he's trying to find an ID that will keep him in Hong Kong, runs afoul of Sammo Hung, Mr. Big, and his gangland, I guess they're triads.
A foul.
And
extra points for using the word a foul.
And he, in the process, steals some drugs, which he thinks is money, when they do him out of his hard-earned money when he's trying to get said ID. In his escape, he runs into the walled city. What's the name of the walled city?
Kowloon Walled City.
Kowloon, which is a real place in Hong Kong, which is the maddest. Look it up online. It is insane. It's like this huge shanty town that is built on top of each other into like this, like, I don't know, I suppose city block of tunnels, and it's mad. And he escapes into there and then comes under the wing of a man called Cyclone, who runs the walled city, who's an an enemy of Mr. Big, well, has a past with Mr. Big, and then hijinks ensue from there. Is that a good sum up?
Good, lovely sum up, actually. That is exactly what you need, isn't it? Yeah. We've got a sort of our hero, Chan Lok Kwan, played by Raymond Lam. Interestingly, in the version that we watched, Louis Koo's character is called Cyclone, but on IMDb he's called Tornado.
How strange.
What an absolute treat. I guess maybe they're sort of the same thing depending on how you translate it.
That's really interesting. I wonder if Americans call cyclones tornadoes.
Yeah.
Remind me of the actor who plays Cyclone's name.
Louis Koo.
He's great. He's in like loads of Ringo Lam movies that I've seen, like Throwdown and what's the other one? The drug one. I can't remember what it's called. But he's great.
War?
He's really great. Drug War. I think he's in Drug War, and he's really great. He's really good. He's very charismatic, and now he's a little older. He's sort of even more charismatic somehow. He was really good.
As soon as you make anyone's hair like Silver Fox, they just get a sort of air of like authority, but cool, and all the sort of, I want to say the older guys, I bet they're like literally our age or a bit.
He's only like 3 years older than us, but absolute Adonis of a man.
Yeah. They all come across so well in this movie. I didn't really sort of have anywhere to start, but I suppose I just love that there's enough money behind this movie to make it looks gorgeous. I think like the art direction coupled with the cinematography and everything that sort of paints the frame, it does make what is a sort of probably terrifying hive of crime and dirt and horror in real life look like this sort of incredibly romanticized world. And it's realized in such a kind of both smart, in that there's lots of narrow corridors and single rooms, but also when they do go full on, let's have a CG shot, it's this sort of epic, like vast thing that looks like a spaceship, or I don't know, just for me, like the movie just looks incredible.
Yeah, the production design is incredible, and like the CGI is quite ubiquitous, I would say. Like there's a lot of green screen going on, but it's never like it never feels wrong because it's such an alien world anyway. Like you said, it's a bit like a spaceship. It's such an alien world. You kind of forgive it because you've got nothing to compare it to. So these sets are incredible. And then it's such a good setting for an action movie. Like it really, it's kind of like the best bits of The Raid mixed with, like Alien. Yeah, I think you're right. And there's that really good shot where you finally see from within the walled city, they look up into the sky. You haven't seen the sky for ages. And as soon as you see the sky, there's this huge plane just goes over like the spot where you can see the sky. It was just really great, I thought. I thought it was really good.
Dangerously close.
What's going on with this title? What is that? Because that's the comic. Like, it's so. Why don't you just call it Walled City or like? It's so bizarre. What?
You're right. I don't know. No, it's based on a manga called City of Darkness, which
why did they just call it City of Darkness?
If you could ask Martin Goldwyn Martin this when you speak to him.
Yes,
you're right. I don't know why they couldn't. Maybe there's another movie called Twilight of the Warriors. Maybe they're teeing up more movies.
They are teeing up more movies. They are teeing up a prequel and a sequel that is now in production as we speak.
I love that you did the research for this because I was going to, and then I went down a different rabbit hole and ended up sending you the comic book that it was based on with not enough time to look at it.
Well, when you say research, I read the Wikipedia page. So,
right.
That's what I'm going from.
Gotcha.
But I was just like, it's such a bizarre, like, I would never watch that movie because I'd be like, is this a sequel or is this part of a trilogy? Because it's got the colon on. It doesn't tell me anything really about the movie. It's such a weird title. Terrible. But what were your top line thoughts about the movie? Did you like it?
Arguably the gang leaders, right, are in their twilight years, and they were once warriors.
No, I understand what the title means. I'm just saying.
And the city is surrounded
by walls. And they're in the walls.
In it. Yeah. They're in. Yeah. Right.
No, I know. Don't get me wrong. I understand it.
What is your point? What are you trying to get at?
Why did they just call it Walled City Warriors or something? I don't know. Like
Walled City Warriors says like DTV all over it.
Yeah. But anything with a colon says DTV to me.
Man, titles
what did
so
you think
tough.
of this movie?
I watched it twice. I watched it a few weeks ago, and then I watched it sort of yesterday/today because I wanted it fresh in my mind for when we spoke about it. The first time I watched it 2 weeks ago, I sort of went on a very interesting journey. I'm trying to kind of recall my thoughts from then, which I think were I loved it to start with because it set out its stall so early with like fighting. Then it was like they were on a double-decker bus in Hong Kong in the 80s, and it put me in mind of Jackie Chan and all the amazing movies that came out of Hong Kong in the 80s. And I was like, they know who the audience for this movie is. They're like fully tipping their hats. They're like indebted to this time of like just incredible movies when the industry was enormous. And I was like, the action is great. And then it kind of got into like the story stuff. And I was like, okay. And then I got quite involved in the story. And I didn't know, and this, to my earlier point, I did not know it was based on a manga. And I think I was really enjoying the movie. And then I felt like it was about to end. And then it didn't. I thought, oh, this is probably where it's going to be the end. And then there was like a whole nother act. And then the third act is where it's really wears based on a manga on its sleeve. And that caught me off guard the first time because it goes from quite gritty / realistic with occasional, wire work flourishes that you can kind of go like, yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, it was like one cool bit to absolutely balls out batshit. No spoilers, but, light spoilers. Someone has quote unquote spirit powers and is invulnerable, and it turns into this sort of orgy of like fight carnage, which second time round I just loved. First time round, it put me on the back foot a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just so used to, like, I guess it is a kind of tonal shift, and they don't tee up in any way that it's going to, what's that? It's like, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, like wuxia. Is it wuxia?
Wuxia.
Like, you know, all the like
Crouching
wuxia,
Tiger,
like
etc.
Yeah, it sort of turns into that, and and I love all that stuff for like a great deal, but like, it doesn't tee up that that's going to happen, even if it was just like a little bit of seeding it. To be honest, when I watch Hong Kong movies, they're always so batshit crazy. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's just their main focus is entertaining the audience, which I really appreciate. That's foremost, and everything else is secondary. Plot, characters, whatever. So I always appreciate the fun they have with it. But yeah, I just thought the thing for me, I loved it actually. I really enjoyed it, but it didn't feel like it should be 2 hours 10 minutes.
If it sounded like I was having a go at it, I did love it, and I will say, second time around, I think I liked it even more. I mean, it's easily in the running for action movie of the year this early on.
It was really fun, but I do feel like, and again, the Hong Kong movies I've watched definitely like a bit of the soap opera angle to things. And I did think this movie, like in the middle especially, lent into it like a little too long. Like, you want a bit of that, and you like the twists and turns and the treachery but it was just a bit too long without these amazing fight sequences. Like that bus sequence, so good, and all the stuff in the corridors is so good, but then you just like, give me some more of that. And I thought it could have been a classic, but it was just a really fun time, I thought, because it spent too long in that sort of soap opera area for me personally.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I do think the first time I watched it, that middle section did feel like it dragged a little bit up to where I thought it was going to be the ending. And then it went on for another half an hour. And it was like, you thought that like massive, incredible action sequence was the ending? Hold my beer. You ain't seen nothing yet, mate. This guy has, and I'm going to say it again, spirit powers. Not mentioned for the whole. Admittedly, on the bus, he does a thing with his finger, and it goes through a seat. But there's no sparks coming off of it. There's nothing to suggest that he cannot be stabbed, and then suddenly I don't want to just spend the whole time talking about this, because there's so much other great stuff. Like, for example, another incredible trope of Hong Kong movies that I suppose probably, if I knew more about history, we are to blame for in some way, is that people have such workaday names occasionally. Like, there's so many people in Hong Kong called Jeff. It's my dad's name. It's a great name. But like the ultimate bad guy in this is like, and they tried to take down the ultimate warrior, Jim. He's just called really Jim.
Yeah, that's great.
I just don't, I think it must only land on like English ears in that way. Oh, I don't know.
Dave.
Yeah.
Dave.
Just
Wuxia spirit fighter, Dave.
It's very funny to me. And also, speaking of the melodrama, and the second time around, it didn't feel like it dragged for me. I will say that much. I think you probably are right. It probably could lose 10 minutes, and arguably it would come out of that middle section. But I think they do very well at serving up great action set pieces fairly regularly. Like, the beginning just gets to it, and then it's great, like really good, really quickly. And then there is probably the sort of the reveal moment, I would say, where there's like, a gang boss has like one thing he wants to do, and there's a big reveal, and then it's sort of, there's another massive action sequence, which is great.
What I thought was just a little bit weak in that, again, it's just this middle section, was this gang boss you're talking about who has this one thing he needs to find out. They only introduced that gang boss like a minute before the reveal of the thing he wants. I can't explain it without giving spoilers out, but it was kind of like, we hadn't met him before. He suddenly appears, and then he's the focus of the rest of the movie, and you're just like, what? Wait a sec, who? Wait, who?
Yeah, I don't know if he's like mentioned at the beginning, or he's one of the sort of when they're like telling the story of the past, and you see a lot of them when they're young, but they don't have the grey hair, and they don't have like whatever the thing is that they're all smoking all the time. That's how you know it's 80s Hong Kong.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I watched it going, wait, which one is? Okay, so who is? Okay, wait, so why does one of them have to die? Why?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like territory, and you know, someone has to die to take control of this and this. It's which I did the first time around have a little bit of trouble clinging on to.
The one thing I love about Hong Kong movies in general, their action sequences, that I think American action movies don't do nearly as well, is there's a couple in this movie that, you know, the bus scene. What they do, and they did this in 80s movies, especially Hong Kong movies, is the main focus is he's trying to keep, like, he's fighting someone, but he's got another distraction.
Right.
And that always is so fun.
It's like classic Jackie Chan, like, don't smash the vase, but I'm fighting people.
I'm fighting people. And it makes such a good, like, because it adds this extra tension. And in this case, in the bus, he's got a whole bag full of money. He thinks it's money. And he's trying to keep the bag of money because that's the whole reason he's in this predicament. So he's trying to keep the bag of money, but also fighting off these guys. Or later, a character gets really hurt and he has to go to hospital. And the other characters have to try and get out of the walled city with this character who's really ill, while still fighting all these other guys. And
so
it just creates this whole level of extra tension and character stuff that is so missing. Often it's just, if you just see two people twatting each other for a long period of time, you just get bored, really. Like, there's only so many times, because you have to keep on surprising the audience. And like, how many times can you twat someone in the face? And like, you get it. Like Superman fighting Batman for like an hour through buildings. It's just so boring. But with this, just this one extra element, it just makes it so good. And that sequence on the bus was just like jaw dropping. I thought it was like you said, it was like Police Story. I think it's Police Story 1. Yeah. They've got that nod, but it was just so good. Yeah. It was so good.
And there's another, the sort of turning point sequence in that I think probably is the end of the middle sag, shall we say? I think maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, but just to hark back to the sort of production design, that they're so good at like building big sets. That's something I loved in 80s Hong Kong movies. Is like the finales would always take place on these enormous sound stages, you know, like a massive factory or a real factory. Yeah. And I think one of the like Louis Koo's character, Tornado/Cyclone, his like, you know, base is like 2 levels of a building, but the floor has been smashed out. So you can see it through. And it's clearly just like a physical set, and you can just and then when invariably there is a fight scene in that set, it just delivers everything you want. You know, it's like people flying off the stairs, people falling down and tumbling and clanging through concrete. And like, there's just so much of that. I sound like, you know, like an old man yelling at the sea, but it's that sort of classic, it's like what movies used to be, you know, and I think it is coming back to some degree, but they're clearly so aware of the legacy, and it's such a sort of great tip of the hat to everything that came before, whilst folding in, you know, the new guys, the new ways of doing things, like the action designer Kenji Tanagaki, I want to say his name, like his more modern approach, the grappling, the sort of MMA stuff that you didn't have in those 80s sort of movies that were more just straight up Kung Fu Wing Chun stuff. Like, it's just got a bit of everything. Anytime you see somebody being like suplexed or someone skidding along the ground, I'm like, that's Kenji, isn't it? He did that. Yes.
Yeah, that was really fun, because that is new to me. I've never seen some of that stuff. But I guess even the soap opera part is cool, like harking back to those 80s, like heroic bloodshed movies. They're all quite sentimental. Like all the John Woo ones are like
melodrama.
Basically, so they're melodramas, but with just guns. So that even that is on game, I would say. Yeah, it was really fun. Like one thing about all Hong Kong movies, I find is you might disagree. The music is terrible. The music is it's always like library music or like karaoke, the karaoke backing tracks of like Western movies. Not Western movies, just Western pop songs. That's it.
This is, I think, what I was about to say before, and somehow we got diverted. I will say, I think the score is very good at this movie, especially towards the end when it does get more, I don't want to say superhero-y, supernaturally, but like the sort of gritty realism takes a bit of a backseat to the sort of batshitness. Then I think it's very cool. I can only imagine that the exact thing in your head as you were making this point is that there is what sounds like the karaoke backing track to Walking in the Air from the Snowman.
Walking in the Air, that's what it was.
Yes.
I was like, I couldn't place it. I was like, that's what it was. I was like, what is that? It was insane. I think generally like Hong Kong movies have terrible music.
Yes, in the past, I think that's true.
Sorry, I was talking about Ringo Lam movies earlier. It's Johnny To movies that
lead
is the lead in, and sorry, not Ringo Lam, but the Johnny To. There's a Johnny To movie which is amazing. I'm just looking it up now. I can't remember. It's called like PTA or something like that.
Oh yeah, Parent Teacher Association.
Yeah, I think it is something like that. But it's about this police task force who, anyway. That is like a great action movie, and it is almost unwatchable because the soundtrack is so bad. Like, I wonder why. Maybe it's just me. Because I like my soundtracks.
But there is a lot of sort of noodly electric guitar in that era.
Yes. Yeah, and that Johnny To one I'm talking about is called PTU.
PTU, yes, I haven't seen that.
And it's all noodly guitar all the time. Not like in a like 80s like saxophone by a burning oil drum noodle. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder what that is. Do you think they just get library music or maybe it's just a cultural thing. Maybe people love it. I honestly, it's weird.
I can't speak to the cultural nature of it. I mean, maybe the fact that we find it funny that the hero's called Jeff or that the gang lord is called Jim.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone in Hong Kong is like, isn't this an instrumental version played on an electric guitar of the cartoon of the Snowman, where a snowman comes to life that is on TV in the UK every Christmas? That isn't gonna land. But I did go, I was watching it going, have they ripped off the Snowman? And then I was like, no, it's in the credits. It's like Walking in the Air. It's just a reinterpreting of it.
But that's what I mean. The person who made that piece of music
is like, what?
Must know. But the person who like covered it for the soundtrack must know that it's about a snowman.
Yeah, maybe.
So what's that choice? That's why I think it must be library music. It must be, the director or someone just flicking through stuff and be like, yeah, that sounds good. It's fascinating.
It's like
I'd love to know
score
more
and
about
then
that.
it just ends up staying in. I don't know. But, I would love to. If we can get to the bottom of why Walking in the Air is in this gritty urban action movie, then that's surely the purpose of a podcast like this. Detective.
Yeah. We should have done our research. Is what we're saying. But yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun.
I think the melodrama to me didn't feel quite as syrupy again second time round. I think maybe it's just being primed for it a bit more, or just kind of, just watching it with different eyes. But like having watched so many, movies that don't have the time, the budget, the script, or the caliber of actors to pull off half decent drama. Like when, I did like these characters, and while sometimes it is a bit OTT or a bit soap opera-y, like I did root for the characters, and it was, you know, they all did at least have a bit of characterization, even if it is slightly caricature-y at times. But like, I thought the Raymond Lamb, the lead, was really good at just sort of occasionally, you know, just doing the look that's like, I found my family.
Yeah, having a little smile.
Moments like that really pull you in.
Yeah.
To when everyone suddenly wants to kill him and he's literally fighting for his life.
Yeah, and like you say, like, I do think I would prefer my action movies with a bit of soap opera rather than completely Michael Bay's Ambulance, where it's just no meaning. It has no meaning because you don't even have time to know who these people are. Like you do need. I'd rather veer into walled in territory, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, that's just my only like niggle. I did find the pacing in the middle was a little bit strange, but
100%.
Yeah, with the calibers of actors, like you say, and like the set design, there's always something to keep you entertained. I thought it was great. I really had a good time with it.
It's stakes, isn't it? I think a lot.
Yeah.
And it's so tough to. I saw Bad Boys : Ride. Is it : Ride or Die, or is it just Bad Boys Ride or Die? Don't know if there's a colon.
I think it's a skull emoji.
Ah, yeah. yeah.
Or a hand slap emoji.
But
topical.
Speaking of stakes, like that is a movie that, and then again, there's nothing to be surprised about. Like I can't really be like indignant. Like I cannot believe the fourth movie in this OTT franchise started by Michael Bay, but you know, it's a fun movie. It's an absolutely like fine way to spend, thankfully, less than 2 hours at the cinema. And there's some great cinematography and like there's loads of cool, flashy camera shit, but there's zero stakes in any of the action scenes. Like you're just like, oh, that's a cool thing they're doing with a drone, or like, oh, okay, yeah, that's neat. But at no point did I think, oh no, someone might die, because that's just like that's that movie, right? Whereas this, it does spend a little, maybe too much time building the characters, but at least like. A, people do die, and it is quite sad, and I think that speaks to like the actors being good. And B, like you do feel emotionally attached to the characters, so that even 100%. when the sort of mega batshit like 4-on-1 borderline superhero battle occurs at the end, you are a bit like, I don't know. I don't know who's going to come out of this. Like,
survive. Yeah. And that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if an action sequence, you know, like I think you can get tension out of an action sequence a couple of ways. One is like you genuinely don't know if someone will survive. That's a great way of building tension. The other thing is if one action, you know, he jumps to grab the bag of money, and because he's jumped to grab the bag of money, he creates another problem for himself that is exploited. So this like cascade of events, you know, just basic storytelling, but within an action sequence. Like the perfect example of this, I'm sure everyone knows this, but like is that in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when Indiana Jones is trying to get the plane, and while he's getting in the plane, various things happen. Like he traps Marion in the plane. Then he sets off by doing one thing. He sets on fire this big like whole load of oil that's going to explode, and then by punching this one guy, it means that he's now faced the propeller. Like continuously, there's surprises that as soon as he gets out one scrape, it causes even more tension because he can't get out of another scrape. And like these Hong Kong action scenes, and I guess this is what I was talking about earlier with the bag of money and stuff, really understand how to make action. Like they really understand stakes about, you care about the characters, and they really understand this sort of cascade of events that make things harder, and they continuously exploit it. But things like Bad Boy, I haven't seen Bad Boys, but like Ambulance was a perfect example. They just don't, there's no understanding of that, I don't think. And it really makes you get bored. You just literally get bored because nothing matters. And to be bored in an action sequence is heresy, really. Like,
it's the cardinal
what's their
sin,
purpose?
isn't it? Yeah.
It's the cardinal sin.
Yeah. You're right. Like the scene where he has to, or someone is injured and they have to help him escape. But like he's on like a sort of makeshift wheelchair stretcher, and there is also like they're fighting people. Then they sort of, it's those just like cool environment / prop bits where like they fling him out of the stretcher onto a thing, or like, you know, they use his body as a weapon and like shit. Like there's a couple of bits in the movie where a person in a fight scene is used as like a weapon, like as swung around, or like there's a bit where a guy's sort of dragged back and forth on the floor and like people like, whoa. It's so good.
But even then it's because you're like, he's really mortally injured, and like to do that you're like, oh my God, they're going to hurt him even more, but they have to use him. And that's like a real understanding of, I think, the genre, which is just so baked into Hong Kong. I mean, I guess it's still baked in. I just haven't seen many Hong Kong movies after the 90s, to be honest, is the truth. Like, I think this is probably the first action movie I've seen from Hong Kong for years.
It is sort of, I guess, like, maybe that's what this movie's saying all along. You know, the tearing down of Kowloon Walled City really represents the movie industry once Hong Kong rejoined the mainland, you know? Maybe the whole thing is like a metaphor.
And now the movie industry is walking in the air, and it could melt at any time like a snowman.
And eventually it will be the summer. It will be the summer. But yeah, I mean, it is that there aren't as many movies coming out of Hong Kong. And so when it seems like just every couple of years at this point, it's not like, you know, sort of mainland are just churning out these straight to streaming movies. Korea is absolutely nailing it. But it just warms my heart when something of this caliber and quality comes out of Hong Kong, because like all the talent is there. I guess it's just like putting all the pieces of the mousetrap and winding the handle. I think I've mixed my metaphors, but nonetheless, I think this is just great. And you should also watch Raging Fire, which came out a few years ago with Donnie Yen, and this also had Kenji doing a lot of the fight choreography, because that is again, an amazing sort of nod to both the new and the old of Hong Kong.
Oh, definitely. I love a Donnie Yen.
We haven't even mentioned Sammo. We haven't even mentioned him.
I know. It's great having him there.
He's so good at being like an old gangster. It was great. It's mad to think that he is Sammo from all the movies. And they even get to do him a bit of fighting, as much as he probably doesn't do most of it. It's well handled, I would say.
Yeah, you can't tell. And like, when I was a kid watching all these movies, like Sammo Hung was my all-time favorite. I absolutely love Sammo Hung.
He's the best. He's the absolute best.
He is the best. I did read that this movie was about 20 years in the making. It was in development hell from the early 2000s until quite recently. It changed hands. I think maybe Johnny Toe or someone like that was meant to direct it. Some big director was meant to direct it, and then it all fell apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like loads of different people. I think maybe Jackie Chan was attached to it at some point. Like loads of people were. Don't quote me on that. Read the Wikipedia.
Citation article, needed.
Yeah. But thumbs up for me.
Well, Soi Cheng, who directed this, I'm not familiar with. I was like, have I seen any movies he's made? He made SPL2, A Time for Consequences, which I have seen, and I will now revisit. But twixt that and this I've not seen. He also made a movie called Limbo, which I've heard very good things about, and we'll also dig out. Christoph, I know you have to go. Before you do you have an action replay moment?
For me, it's definitely that bus sequence. It's so you nailed it. It's just this sort of nod to the past, but just even that had like some CGI moments in it and some green screen stuff and wire work, but it had enough like of the physical stuff, and the CGI was like handled like really in a fun way. Everything was like fun about it, and it had that thing that I love in those old movies that we've been talking about with the bag of money. It was just great. And I've got loads actually, but I think that was my favorite.
Yeah, there are. This is a movie with like so many memorable bits, and I was trying to I was like shuffling through my Rolodex of, there's that one bit where he does that, and there's the bus is great. Quite soon after that, when he first goes into the city, there's a guy on a scrambler bike, which nothing says 80s Hong Kong, like those sort of motocross bikes, who's just burning it around a bit. He arrives and he is immediately very hard and has a knife, and there's like a knife fight on a narrow balcony. Love that.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Also, towards the end, when the sort of all-star team up happens and they all kind of get a little intro moment that
Yeah.
I was like, fucking
Slow-mo with their
yes,
hair,
mate.
with their hair blowing in the wind moment. Yeah.
It goes absolutely mad, but it's very, very cool. Very, very cool.
What I liked about this is it's a good mix. I saw an Indonesian movie. I can't remember. You might know the name of it. It's called like Remember the Night or something.
Oh, The Night Comes For Us.
Yeah. And like that had some like amazing fight sequences, but it's so like violent. Like it was like,
oh my God.
It was never punching. It was all like knives and gouging people out. And like for me, I can't quite get on board with it. As much as I like the action sequences and I like a bit of ultra violence.
Yeah.
That was just too much. But this had this good mix of like old school, just like you say, like Wing Chun or whatever, but also a bit of knifing, bit of blood, and all that grappling. It was like a really good mix of all the new stuff with the old. And thumbs up from me.
Chris,
thank you for introducing me to it.
It's giving it a thumbs up. I think that means maybe we've sort of won you back post Beekeeper, I hope.
Yeah, I think hopefully I'll come back for sex wife of the show. What is it? Sex husband?
Concubine of the show?
Concubine of the show. Yeah. I can't wait to be concubine of the show.
I think the pendulum swung from one side, from Equalizer to Beekeeper. I think we're back to Equalizer side of Delight. I think I enjoyed this more than the Equalizer. Like I said, this is easily in the running for action movie of the year so far. Bring on the challenges. Very excited to see what else is out there. But this gets a 2 thumbs up. No one's copyrighted that as a way of recommending movies, have they? 2 thumbs up from me. So. That's very 80s.
2 guns up from me.
2 guns up. Not so many guns in the movie, actually.
No. I want to put something else into the universe because last time I said what I wanted, it happened.
Oh, here we go.
So what should we ask for? I would like a good American action film in the vein of Shane Black, where it's like quite funny, you like the characters, and hijinks ensue. That's what I'm putting out into the universe now. Okay. That's what I'd like to do next time.
Well, the listeners have listened, and let's hope the universe has also listened. Christoph, if people need to urgently find you, can they?
Yeah, call me. Call me on my mobile.
Okay. Will you answer? Is it on silent all the time?
It's on silent.
Of course it is.
But you can call me anytime as a friend of me.
Thank you so much. I just want everyone to follow you on Letterboxd, so I'll put the link below because they will be introduced to just the most movies you've never heard of, I would say, unless they're smart people who have watched like the BFI's top 100 movies or the AFI's top 100 movies or, any big list, probably. But I still don't know where you're finding them. Mubi?
I'm going deep. I'm buying Blu-rays now. I'm in too deep. I'm way deep.
That collection's going to be on Facebook Marketplace before you know it.
Yeah, I've got a kid on the way, so almost definitely.
There's the college fund in the alphabetized shelves. With every year, the worse college you'll be going to, son.
They retain their value, Simon, so...
Do they? Do they indeed?
That's what I tell my wife. All right, love you lots. Can't wait to come back.
Thank you so much, Christoph.
Thanks for having me.
Goodbye. Bye.